Hello everyone, welcome to Live with Sirus. It's been a while. This is the first time in 2024. We've been traveling a fair bit. We've been talking to clients in their own countries. In Ashani, we were lucky to meet a lot of clients in Sri Lanka and Maldives during December, January, and then I had to travel to... Where did I travel?
USA, so
I
we
was
couldn't do our
consulting clients in California last week actually, and but here we go. We are here now, and it's never been a better place and better time to talk to you guys. And thank you for joining. It's going to be a good session. There's going to be a fair bit of information. Get through it without having any negativity in your head. So, my name is Isuru Yapa. I'm a registered migration agent here from Sirus Migration, and I've got Ashani right next to me. She's a senior migration agent here at Sirus as well. So we've got a fair bit of topics to cover today. We're going to talk about the hot topic 485, and this is going to affect a lot of people, but don't get disappointed. There's always going to be a path around it. And we're going to talk a bit about partner visas. There has been fair few new changes came for international students as well. We're going to be talking about what are the new changes, how it's going to affect you all. And global employee nominated visas. We're going to show you all the options, because a lot of people get disappointed because there are delays with the invitation for 189, 190s. This is the only option. What do we do next? We came to... Don't worry. There are going to be... There are many other options that you can follow. Employee nominated visa category is one of the best visa categories, and we have been quite successful, and we've seen many sponsorships and visa grants last few months and years. And then we're going to also talk about global talent visas, one of our favorites. We've been very successful. We have had many visa grants throughout last few months and years. And this is a very good visa for prominent people in the industry, wherever the part of the world you are in, as long as you're qualifying through the general requirement. There's no age limit, no English hurdles, nothing like that, and you and the whole family can migrate to Australia as a permanent resident. So it's a very good, powerful visa. We're going to talk to you all about it, and we're going to talk about parent visa options as well, because a lot of people have confusions about what is a parent visa. And Mario didn't want to talk, but I'm going to talk about business visas as well at the end. We must talk about it. And then we have the question and answer session at the end. But
you are welcome to ask us questions anytime. I think we are going to answer questions as we go, because then you don't need to wait till the end of session to get your questions answered.
So, topic 1, let's talk about the 485 changes.
Yeah, so subclass 485, as you probably already know, is also, people call it the TR. It's a
post-study work visa,
graduate
visa,
or the graduate stream, depending
so this
on
is
what
the visa
you study.
That's got introduced a decade ago also for people who complete studies in Australia. This visa has been given to them as a pathway option to be qualified to get into a permanent resident visa. So that'll get you opportunity to work in Australia or do whatever you want, and maybe get qualified to become a permanent resident as well through this.
Right now, as long as you're under 50 and study a CRICOS registered eligible course, you are eligible to apply for subclass 485. But there are big talks about changing this eligibility age from 50 years to 35 years. We haven't seen any legislative instruments or any updates in the legislation itself yet, but they are still in the talks. But as soon as we find out about this change, and if it's going to come into effect, we will be the first to let you know. And also
there are serious talk. It's most likely to happen, but we don't know the dates. We don't know when it will happen. Maybe they would consider if they're introducing it, the department might start this from next financial year, 1st of July,
I think
or
so.
maybe they might give an interim time for people so whoever's studying there, they won't lose out, so they will have the opportunity to continue as they are. So whoever, they will probably come up with this is only ideas, this is my own opinion, this is not a legislative information. So they might come up with a time period like end of and like whoever's studying right now, they will be eligible for the existing criteria, and there'll be the next new criteria applicable for students who's enrolling from 1st of July. So it will be actually a very good strategy if they were to do that, but we don't know.
We don't know yet. So but we
don't
will
be
let
disappointed,
you know.
don't be upset. Get some professional advice suit to your own circumstances.
Yeah, and also there's going to be increased English requirement for the same subclass 485 visa, but it's not a big amount. Like, it is right now, you need to have 6 as an overall compete in English. They're just increasing it by 0.5 into 6.5, and honestly, anyone who studied in Australia for 2 years, I'm sure this is not a big issue for you.
So it's either IELTS 6 or 6, then being advanced to 6.5 for the new criteria. If you were to do PTE, it's 50, but they advanced it to 58.
Yeah, and also some visa durations are going to be changed. Would you go ahead?
Yeah. So the way they determine the number of years of the 485 or the graduate visas being granted is by the course that you have completed, the last course that you have completed in Australia. So right now it's for a bachelor's degree, it's 2 years, which is going to remain unchanged. Masters by coursework, they're going to be reduced from 3 years to 2 years. Masters by research, it's unchanged, it's going to remain as 3 years. PhD, by the way, is going to come down to 3 years from 4 years.
It's actually be up to 7 years now, depending on what they study. So
there was a recent change not long ago that you could go up to 7 years. Now it's gone right down to 3 years. It's like the stock market, so it fluctuates. Anyway, I don't think this is going to be a big issue for a lot of students. I mean, it's good to have this 485 temporary visa, but we should not ever think about it as a comfort zone to just spend some time and take it easy. I mean, 485, couple of years is a massive grant. Use that wisely to get through to next migration pathway if you were to consider staying in Australia, or if you were to study here and live back, then this is a good opportunity for you to upskill yourself before you go back to your own country, so you can probably study a little bit more.
And also they're going to say that people who are on graduate visa will not be able to go back onto a student visa, which again I think makes sense, because they just don't want you to stay in Australia using student visas and these temporary visas just as a reason to stay here. They would like to see more people who are settling and who are contributing to the country rather than just jumping from one temporary visa to the other. So I think this is good initiative for you to get your act together and work towards your end goal.
I can see a question coming through, Emmanuel. We'll get back to you in a second, Emmanuel. The last part of the 485 changes that we wanted to talk to you about is so the extended post-study work rights recently been changed depending on the place you study, and the location will be reviewed, but we don't know a clear picture on that too as well.
Yeah.
So these things that we talked about, they're not the current. They have not got a certain date when they will come onto effect. So these are proposed changes. So it's not much to worry about. So Janus Thomas and Emmanuel will take your questions now. Emmanuel's asking which visa class covers those above 45 years. Good question. Depending on which visa category you're looking at, but if you're looking at skill visas in general skill migration 189, 190, 491, your cutoff mark is, or the benchmark is, the high ceiling is 45. So if you're above 45, you won't be able to go through. But then again, if you were to go through work visa categories, 482 visa doesn't have a age limit, so you can remain in Australia, continue to work. But 186, there is no pathway unless you go through a Dharma program. So you'll need to go through a regional Dharma program to get through to this. Again, if you were to go into parent visa, partner visa, there is no age restriction there. Again, global talent independent. If you have a prominence in certain category, then there is no age limit either. So there are many categories depending on which one you're looking at, Emmanuel. So good question. I think that would have answered your question.
We've got Janus asking, hi, what are the available pathways for qualified caregivers in Australia? It's a question that's on a lot of people's minds these days. Right now, the only pathway available for caregivers is to apply through an employer sponsorship. So you have to find an aged care or a disability care provider to sponsor you for a work visa, subclass 482. And this, not every aged care can do that. The aged care who's eligible or the disability service who's eligible to do that, they have to be part of a labour agreement. So that's where the tricky part comes from, because sometimes aged cares are a bit hesitant to get into this labour agreement. But the only pathway to get through to as a aged care is go through the employer sponsored pathway. But I have seen some news that they are going to introduce some other pathways similar to 482, some relaxed pathways for aged care people and some people in agriculture or lower skill shortage people, a different kind of visa pathway, but we haven't seen that yet. I think it is a part of the big migration strategy which we are yet to see in the next coming months. And Krishan is asking, if changes come, what are the possible opportunities to affect party to stay in Australia? I guess the question means like who's going to be affected by these new changes. I think the new changes will have an effect on international students and temporary visa holders, all of them holding different visas. But because Australia wants more stability from temporary migrants, that's probably why they are introducing this 186 TRT, which is the permanent residency pathway for short-term skilled worker visas as well. So I think people, if they want to stay in Australia, they might have to look for more stable permanent visa options rather than just jumping from one temporary visa to the other.
And Ranil Bandara wants to know about business visa. Business visas got different categories. So when you talk about business visas, 188 visa category is on hold at the moment. So 188 A, B, C, D, E. All 188 categories are on hold. It's been on hold since November 2022, and they have been allocated few visa grant allocations earlier this year from the budget, but there's
about 900 something, but we haven't seen any visa grants. So the program
but they're
is
not
on hold.
Accepting any new applications either. But having said that, there are other pathways that you can circumvent or achieve the same goal through business visas, that serious applicants who are expecting to establish businesses, we have been successfully able to support them. So if you're expecting to establish a business in Australia and you're requiring a visa to get through to it, we can still help you. Maybe depending on on your circumstances and what venture plans you have in Australia, we can help Other than this, when you talk about business visa, in Queensland there is a great business visa category called 491 small business visa owner. So for you to be eligible, you need to be in Australia with full-time work rights, and you need to purchase a business in a regional area paying $100,000 minimum for a business which has been established for at least 2 years, or start your business and from the beginning and run it for 2 years, turning over 200,000. There are a few things to be eligible, but I would like you to know, if you're in Australia, there is other different pathway as well running. So depending on the business visa requirement, you may want to set up an appointment with us. It's the current program is a bit different to the straight business visa program, but depending on your eligibility and the background, we might be able to help you, guide you through how you can achieve it.
Yeah, we've got Krishan asking, graduate Ayurvedic doctor can do skill assessment in this time as complementary health practitioner. Krishan, please send us an email. We have to look at your CV and your qualifications before we can advise your eligibility for a skill assessment. But if you're eligible, definitely yes, that is one of the services that we provide. We can assist you in getting your skills assessment and moving forward your visa as well. I've got Hasika asking, what about global talent? My wife will be joining a Master by Research program in Australia. Yes, global talent visa, it's still available, but just by studying, you're not going to be eligible for GTI. There's another very strict
there are a few requirements
criteria for GTI.
Included but not limited to your current high income threshold and global exposure, and also you need to have a nominator who's going to be willing to nominate you for this program, which has to be an Australian citizen or a permanent resident. Would you like to learn more? Please contact us for any of the contact details, so we can look deeply into your own circumstances.
Right. And Nitmina is asking, I'm an accountant in Sri Lanka. Does 482 visa category require a skill assessment? I love this question.
No.
Thank you for asking this question.
No.
I'll actually probably do a special video on this, like who needs a skill assessment for a 482. That's such a good question. As a Sri Lankan passport holder, for an accountant, you do not need a skill assessment for subclass 482. But if you were to apply for subclass 186 direct entry, then which is the permanent residency through employee nomination, then only you need the skill assessment.
But luckily right now, the requirement is you do the 482, you don't need a skills assessment, then you can, as a Sri Lankan, then all your English requirement also IELTS 5 or PTE 36, or in another word, vocational English, and 2 years work experience. You can, if you have all this and if you have an employer who's willing to sponsor you, you can apply for the visa. After 2 years, without doing a skills assessment, you can still go through TRT category of 186 visa to become an Australian permanent resident.
Yeah. Kasun is asking, do these changes will applicable to applications already lodged 485? I don't think so.
Highly unlikely.
Highly unlikely, yes.
We have not ever seen that happen. In 2019, we had a bit of an issue for existing applicants for 457. They had to pull out, and lately with 188 programs towards the end of the program, whoever applied after July 2022 through the state nominations, they had to pull out the nomination, so they got affected by the changes. But if you applied for a 485, this is not going to
I don't think that will happen, yes.
In our opinion, yeah.
Ilaperuma Sudam is asking, is there any ability to apply for a second student visa in the same AQF level after finishing the master's degree as first student visa?
Depending on your circumstances, it's just if you present it as that you're going to be applying for another student visa, so for sake of extending your visa, I don't think it's a good idea, and it will happen.
But if there is a justifiable case, definitely yes, you can do it. I've seen people do that.
Yeah, we have achieved quite a few applications like that, like people who studied For an example, we completed a couple of visas on Master of IT. They have completed, but then they wanted to specialize in cybersecurity. Same masters, another 2 years or year and a half.
Will be fine.
There's no problem with it
Yeah.
because there's a genuine need for doing it.
Yeah, so honestly the answer is yes, you can do that. Depending on your case, we can give you personalized advice. Maybe send us an email, admin@sirus.com.au, and we will look into your case. And Krishan
Krishan's
is
in
saying you're in Perth. That's great, Krishan. Again, send us an email, admin@sirus.com.au. We will check your eligibility for a skills assessment.
Samar is going up and down.
We've got Kevin asking, I'm waiting for a student visa grant, not sure about getting it to join Feb intake due to the long delay. If I defer my intake till July and the visa is granted in between, will I be a victim of 35 years age gap? Because I'm reaching 35 years in June when actually my student visa is getting activated. Is it once the decision is made by the DHA or when I landed in Australia? Unfortunately, we can't give you an answer to this question because we don't know exactly how they're going to come up with this
And we don't know an effective date.
We don't know
when
an
it'll be
effective
commencing,
date. So we'll probably leave you in the dark for now. But once we find out, we will let you know. So if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, this is a good time to do that.
Oh, I forgot
because,
to say.
We will
So
be doing
if
a
you have
video
not
on
subscribed
that.
to our YouTube channel yet, it's time to hit that subscribe button and like us in Facebook. It's you'll be the first to know the new changes in migration, and you'll be able to join us in these sort of live videos and sort out your visa matters and get more educated about immigration and Australian education matters.
Yeah, we've got Devmi asking, does 482 visa need a skill assessment? Devmi, depends on your passport. With your name, I can see that you're from Sri Lanka. Most of the time, Sri Lankan people, they don't need skills assessment for subclass 482. But some people, like people from Fiji, Philippines, Indians, they do need skills assessment for some occupations. But Sri Lankans, very fortunately, we don't need skills assessments.
So depending on
Your passport, yes. So Yashi is asking, hi, are there any pastry cook vacancies? Yashi, send us an email, send us your CV. We are not involved directly in finding jobs, but we do have some clients and some recruiters who
we
are
are affiliated with
and who are helping clients to find job placement. So please send us your CV again to admin@sirus.com.au. We will forward it on to the necessary party. And Nuan is asking, can we do skill assessment without the salary slip? Because I have more than 13 years of experience in IT field. IT is a bit tough because Australian Computer Society is very strict on this pay slips thing, but I don't have any previous pay slips. Only have recent salary slips. Maybe get in touch with us. We probably don't need all your 13 years pay slips. We can use maybe 3 years pay slips if you have. We should be able to apply, but pay slips itself is not enough.
Yeah, as long as you have several other ways of justifying that you have had that payment coming through, then you'll be okay.
Yeah, Netmina is asking, how long would it take to grant 482 visa once the visa is lodged? These days it takes about 1 month. It's very quick.
If you apply through Ashani, but come this way, you might get it within a week or two. You never know.
I don't give people false hope. I give them, I under promise and over deliver. Thank you. And Jenna is asking.
It's very quick these days. It used to take months and months, but 482 is a very quick process.
And it's getting faster and faster too, because that's the purpose of it.
As long as you put together a complete set of documents and what needs to be addressed through your application, and put up a good case for the case officer to look into, I think it's a quite streamlined visa process right now.
Jenna is asking, nowadays what about post-study work visa? How long Australian government issue? Depends on what you studied. If your course is a specialist course in the list, then you get 3 years or you get 2 years. So it's either 2 years or 3 years. Jassy is asking 186 processing times. Please, I think these days it takes about 9 months to a year.
Yeah, I mean 8 months.
She lodged it 8 months ago. I think you'll
So
be
you'll
waiting
be-
another
yeah.
couple of months.
Make sure your police clearances are up to date.
Yeah.
You completed your medical requirements, etc., and then you'll be okay.
Yeah. Let's
So
see.
you spoke to Emmanuel.
Madhava is asking, I'm on 482 visa. My nomination lodged June 2023. As per new revision of migration, am I eligible for 186 after 2 years of working? Previously, it was 3. Yes, Madhava, you will be one of those people who are eligible for subclass 186 TRT after working for your employer for 2 years. Yeah.
You don't have to go through the skills assessment
No.
and that process.
Amandeep's asking, can we apply after 485 visa? After job ready program in chef, do I need to move to state if I'm still working in regional area? Amandeep, can you please send us an email? I think I kind of understand your question.
If you there is a gray area where, I mean, not a gray area, there is a, if you're working in regional for 191, you're satisfying that regional requirement. But remember, 191 invitation from the state who nominated you could be challenging. And if you get a nomination from a state, they're nominating to support that state, and they have full rights to withdraw that nomination anytime if they feel that you're misusing that invitation. So be careful if you're planning to.
It's 485. He's not on a 491. What can we apply after 485 visa, after job ready program? I don't think you need to move to a different state, but Amandeep, please get in touch with us because
It
we
depends
need to. I'm working in regional area in Victoria, still doing chef job after my skill assessment. Do I need to apply for student visa? Depends on when your 485 is expiring. Amandeep, get in touch with us. We will look at your whole scenario and then we will suggest what is the best option for you.
And I'm happy to offer you a free initial consultation. So if when you contact our office, you can mention that we have offered you the initial consultation at no cost, and we're happy to help you through the first steps.
Yeah, Patrick is asking, what are the new skill visa the government are going to implement? Can you share more light on it? What I know so far is that they're going to get rid of the point system as we know it, and they're going to get rid of the skills list, the outdated skills list that's been implemented a very long time ago. They're going to get rid of that, but they are also talking about keeping this list updated all the time, so it's not just one static list. It's going to keep moving as the economies move towards new technologies and all that.
It makes sense. I mean, the list is there for Australia's benefit, to migrate the right people where the economy requires, to fill the gaps in economy where the vacancies never gets filled up.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be the same all the time. So as long as you predict that it's got a demand and you're qualified, I don't think it'll be an issue.
Yeah, that's right. But at the end, still Australia needs skilled migrants. That won't change. It's just the criteria that's going to change. So if you're an eligible person, if you think you've got the skills and the work experience, you will always have an opportunity. Samina is asking, can I apply aged care vacancies under 482 visa? If can, what are the eligibilities for that? Samina, that's again a very generic question. If you're already in aged care, if you're working, get in touch with us, we will see. But if you're someone who has never done aged care and in a completely different occupation, it might be a bit difficult. Krishan's asking, can we change the course masters to graduate with new student visa, because I just need to change my masters of health administration to nursing. Can I health administration not directly Priya pathway, so that's why I need to change, or have any option for it, at least cookery also. Krishan, again send us an email, admin@sirus.com.au.
I don't straight away I don't recommend you to even
can't.
consider about cookery. Don't get your student visa stuffed up, but Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to go from healthcare to nursing, there might be an option for you there. So if you like for us to look into it, do share your CV or contact us directly. No initial consultation fees will help you through there.
Yeah. I've got Ile Peru again asking, my wife is currently working as a laboratory technician
In Brisbane?
under dependent visa. Is there any possibility to lodge 482 after completing 2 years experience? She has no experience back in Sri Lanka. She has a Bachelor of Biosystems Technology. Yes, so the requirement for 482 is to have a qualification and 2 years work experience. So if she's working permanent full time for 2 years, then she will be eligible after 2 years. But if she's working part-time, then for her to complete that 2-year requirement, she has to actually work for 4 years. So keep that in mind with your visa expiry, and she will be eligible. I'm happy to have a chat. Again, offer a free consultation to plan the PR pathway, looking at both of your CVs, with the minimum amount of time, how you can achieve your permanent residency.
We're going to quickly take next question from Shanu and then go back to our program. But if you have any questions, keep typing the questions and we'll come back to you.
Yeah.
What are the healthcare jobs opportunities available in Australia to get PR? Like, there are a lot of opportunities, from registered nurse to resident medical officers to medical officers. There are many options. Depending on your background, we might be able to give you a better answer. But having said that, some people are considering this, what is it called, the aged care category under Dharma program. Of course, there is a Dharma program for people who completed the early stage aged care in Cert 3.
Which labor agreement.
Labor agreement,
Yeah.
which doesn't require any work experience. There's no age gap, everything. But there is a massive campaign going out there offshore, but I don't think there's as many job opportunities persist in Australia. So be careful if you're one of those students, one of those applicants who are considering to go through that way. It's not always a possible pathway.
Sheila is asking a good question. What are the qualifications required for GTE applicants? Is there any benchmark? Why don't we take that time to talk about GTE?
Our topic 5, we'll get through GTI right now.
Yeah.
Global Talent Independent Visa, and then we'll come back to the partner visas afterwards. So Global Talent Independent, it's a permanent residency. It's subclass 858. For you to be eligible, this is an invitation only visa, so we need to apply for this visa through an invitation, an expression of interest. So how you do it, the benchmark is you need to be an expert in any of these 10 target sectors. So the target sectors are there displayed on the screen. So if you're qualified in any of those sectors, one of the benchmarks they look at, what's your level of education. You don't necessarily have to have high education or qualifications, but one of the measurements that they might consider also is your current salary and your potential likelihood of earnings in Australia. So currently Fair Work high income threshold needs to be met. It's in Australia right now until 1st of July is 167,500. There is no such English requirements or anything like that, or age requirements, but you need to display your global exposure, your seniority in the sector, how many people in the industry or the organization that who worked under you and your reporting line who work above you, and that sort of things, and also how many publications, what's your global exposure, how successful you are in the subject matter. Having said that, I have been successful. We have been successful at getting nominations for people who may or may not have even a bachelor's degree, but because
there are no set criteria for this GTI, to be very honest.
Absolutely.
As long as you can prove that you are one of the highest in the field, not just in your country, maybe globally, you are good. That's what I have seen.
I've been sitting in California last week. There are a lot of fintech gurus who are 17 years old, 18 years old, doesn't have any bachelor's degree, but their subject knowledge and their income levels and the exposure to the subject is very high. So you can be eligible for this.
Yeah, that's right.
Through that.
The best thing is actually, especially for GTI, it is worth making an appointment with a migration agent who specialized in GTI, because once they talk to you, they'll be able to tell you whether there is any potential for you for GTI. One of the reasons is GTI invitation can take about a year or year and a half sometimes for the decision. So if this is not something, if you don't have good potential, I think it's wasting your time and money waiting for this for that long without going for a different option. So if you consider GTI, I think it's definitely worth having a chat and see what is your potential.
1st of July every year, Mario wanted to talk to me, that's why I'm just going to talk to you about this, because he's just running the press office all the time. So 1st of July every year, the high income threshold get announced according to the CPI increases. So right now in Australia, high income threshold is $167,500. So
yeah, and it can change every financial year. So I think
if you have any questions, I mean, the successful stories that we went through, we worked through tech gurus, we worked through healthcare,
medical professionals,
anti-money laundering specialists in banks, directors of major banks, directors of minor banks, IT security professionals, so many.
Yeah, we are actually.
I always ask Mario if there's a way that we can press a button when I talk about this, all these grants pops up, and because this visa only started in 2019, and ever since then we have had many grants,
yes.
and we have worked very closely and together with our clients.
Yeah, and I love to help people with GTI. So if you think you have potential, please get in touch.
To Ashani's credit, a couple of weeks ago, Ashani's got
invitation
GTI invitation in one day, which is
that made my day.
And yeah, it was a good achievement. Yeah. Well done.
So Shanu's asking, can I get a job in Australia with an MBBS degree until I get the license to work in Australia as a doctor?
So you need to go through AMC 1 first. Once you've done that, then if you get a supervision approval and get a 482, maybe as
work
a resident
visa,
medical officer, yes.
But depends on the country that you graduated from. This can be easy or hard to
There
get
is actually
your
a
AMC.
very good pathway. I've helped a lot of clients through who have completed their MBBS through Malaysia, the Monash College. So they complete their course, come here for the internship, and they ended up getting that 482 visa under resident medical officer. The good thing these days is we had to do a lot of hard work to get them into GP, but right now you can go get your permanent residency through 482.
In 2 years.
In 2 years.
In 2 years. Yeah,
resident medical
right.
officers as well.
Yeah. Anthony is asking any age limit for medical officer. For 482, there is no age limit.
Yeah.
Suhadi is asking, can you explain about global talent? I'm sure you typed the question before we explained, so we have already explained about global talent.
Go to sirus.com.au, Global Talent Independent. I have done many videos on it, and we have got bunch of information. But if you think you are eligible or you have good potential through this, please be in touch. I'm happy to offer you a free consultation, initial consultation on this as well.
Yeah,
So,
Genosha is asking, can I know more information about Distinguished Talent Visa subclass 124? Actually, that visa does not exist anymore. They have that visa is merged with subclass 858, which is the global talent. So the criteria is not similar, because Distinguished Talent Visa, then again, you don't need to have the high income or anything, but there are some specific criteria. Genosha, maybe get in touch with us. We can go through your CV and let you know by just looking at your profile if you will be eligible for the 858 visa through the Distinguished Talent stream. All right, let's move to partner visa. Again, one of my favorite topics these days. Australian partner visa, sometimes people get this mixed up with a dependent visa. Dependent visa is for anyone who's holding a temporary visa to bring your partners over. So it can be a student, it can be a 482 holder, it can be anyone 408 holder, 491 holder, that there is a visa called dependent visa to bring your partners over. But what we are focusing today is how Australians or eligible New Zealand citizens can bring their partners over to Australia for them to become permanent residents. So for that, we have two visas. One is subclass 820-801, that is the onshore visa. So if you are currently in Australia and your partner is also in Australia, then you can lodge a partner visa subclass 820-801 while in Australia to get towards your permanent residency. The eligibility criteria is your partner has to be an Australian citizen, permanent resident, or a eligible New Zealand citizen. You don't have to be married. You can have your relationship registered, or you could be in a de facto relationship. As long as these criteria are met, you are eligible to lodge this visa, and normally once you lodge this visa, you get a associated bridging visa that has no conditions, which means once your bridging visa is activated, you can work full-time in Australia, study, and you get Medicare access as well. But if the Australian is in Australia or in a different country together with the non-Australian partner is offshore, then the visa is called subclass 309-100, which is the same visa. It goes through the same process, exactly the same fee, which is 8,850 these days, but then you lodge that visa when the applicant is offshore. So for that, sponsor, which is the Australian citizen or permanent resident or eligible New Zealander, can be in Australia or outside of Australia, but the main applicant has to be outside of Australia. So there are the two visa categories for a partner visa, and these days it takes about a year, sometimes even a little bit longer for the partner visa to be processed, but these processing times change all the time. It used to be about 4 to 5 months, and now it's gone up a little bit. We get many inquiries from people, and it's very important to again get this visa right the first time, simply because of how much it costs. 8850, it's a big number, and if it's refused, you can go to AAT and appeal, but then again you're going to again have to waste a few more years of your life waiting for a visa. So that's in a very brief explanation. That is a partner visa. If you believe you're eligible, or if you know anyone who's eligible for partner visas, you can get in touch with us. We offer free consultations to have a chat and see if you're eligible and move forward.
Partner visas for people who's getting married to an Australian or an eligible New Zealand citizen, whether you're married or you're in a de facto partnership relationship, or you're having an affair, you're expecting to get married in Australia, then be in touch. Ashani is very touchy about this partner visa.
Right, let's move on to international student visa, your favorite.
Okay, international student visas, again, these are the proposed new changes. It doesn't mean that they are active, but university is working closely with these criteria, so it is good to know. And I guess this is, I think majority of our students, I don't think this has affected a lot, because all of these guys, most of these students, they're following these changes anyway. So one of the changes, they're going to increase the minimum English requirement for student visas from 5.5 to 6, or it was 40 something to 50, 44 to 50 now. PTE. So this is, I mean, the only visa category that they had to achieve 5.5 was diploma level, and diploma level is now 6. So for students enrolling for English language intensive courses, overseas So if you're doing LE course, earlier you were required to achieve at least 4.5 in your IELTS score, and now you need to show at least 5. Students undertaking university foundation pathway programs that offer reputable English language training course, IELTS, they need to have at least 5.5. So if you were to package English with foundation, you need to have at least IELTS 5.5 with you. It used to be 5 before. So concurrent confirmation. So if you were to follow another degree or a diploma concurrently with your current program, you could have done it simultaneously earlier at any stage, but right now for you to get another COE, to study another course parallelly, you need to wait at least 6 months of your principal course. Additionally, financial threshold for international students going to be increased, but they have not mentioned the number. So right now it's 24,500 for the main applicant. So what it means is, if you're coming to Australia from certain countries, you need to show that you have the financial capacity to come to Australia to pay your tuition fees and live your 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. You need to show that you're financially capable of doing it. So one of the ways that you showed that is, you show that for a main applicant who's studying in Australia, you have $24,500 for the year. Depending on your assessment level, it may vary a bit. Right now, it's going to be increased, but we don't know the numbers yet.
Yeah. Again, looking at it, they just want you to have slightly high English and more living expenses.
There are new changes, but they're not like massive changes that you're going to get.
No.
But it's a news, it's a media part, so a lot of people talk toughly about it. But I mean, if you were to apply for something right now, it's not going to
Yeah,
to
it's
matter.
not
But
like they change it from 5.5 to 8 or anything. It's just 0.5 difference, and we will get adjust to it. It's just going to take time. There's going to be a bit of a teething period, but I'm sure then international students will.
If you have any issue with your international student enrollments, pathways, visas, visa categories, what's next, what's before, be in touch with us. We've got a lot of offices around the world. You can always go there and talk to someone, or if you want to reach us, we are quite easy to be reached, as long as you follow the company contact details. We can schedule a professional engagement through any of these methods, so we can be available for you to attend your matter.
So Shanu's asking, if possible, can you explain 482 visa?
Good on you, Shanu, because that's what we're going to talk about right now.
Great.
Not just 482, we're going to talk about all the employer-sponsored visa categories. Mario, where's the brand new version of his new design for explanation? So this is a brief explanation of the whole employee-nominated category. You want to talk about it, or you?
Yeah, sure. I think the first step, in this list, then how many years work experience do you have? What is your English? Do you have a relevant qualification or not? Do you have an employer who's willing to sponsor you? And is the employer willing to pay that minimum threshold, which is 70,000 now, or the market salary for your occupation? And if so, then you look at, depending on my work experience and qualification and English level, am I eligible to go for a subclass 482, subclass 407, the training visa, or subclass 186? So from an applicant's point of view, subclass 186, which is the permanent visa, which has the highest requirement. So for example, it needs a skills assessment, age under 45, needs 6 in each band.
Unless your occupation requires high English.
High English. And you need to have 3 years post-qualification full-time work experience. So as you can see, out of the 3 visa subclasses, 186 has the highest requirement, but that's the most beneficial visa because you are going to get permanent residency directly from 186. But then again, if your employer is not willing to give you 186, or if you're not there yet, then you look at the subclass 482 because the requirement is lesser than 186, less English, less work experience, and the less qualification requirement, and it's less strict. And subclass 482 now leads to subclass 186. We used to be a bit hesitant about 482 because sometimes it didn't lead to subclass 186, but now all the 482 visa holders have the opportunity to get permanent residency after working for the
Which is a
employer
great
for 2
thing.
years.
Like
That
back in
is
the
a good
days,
thing.
if you were a cook, you can only do the 482. There were no 186 pathways, but now you can be a cook. You can go into 186 permanent residency. Back in the days, it was only available for chefs.
Yeah, that is such a good change that they
Absolutely.
did, which was a necessary change. And then you look at, okay, I don't even have experience or anything for 482. Okay, then you have the 407, the training visa option. So if you just graduated or if you only have 1 year experience in the last 24 months, then you are eligible for 407. And then 407, the training visa can lead you to 482.
If you stop right there, that might be a clue for 485 people who's very
That's
upset
right.
now. So
Yeah. So, I think at the end, the key is if you studied in Australia, you have to find employment. I feel like this is where all this is leading. You find employment in your field, and
well,
you
it makes
will be
sense.
good.
You keep on giving away visas and continuing this migration program. But if there's no outcome, what's the point of doing it? So
That's right.
407s, 482s, or as long as if you're studying to be a cook and if you want to call yourself a cook in Australia, make sure you learn your course properly and you come here qualified, then you can go into your job properly. So that
Yeah.
there won't be any migration changes affecting you because you're a genuine, you have a genuine intention to continue to do so.
Yeah, and so that's the employment visa or the employer-sponsored visa. Some people call it the TSS, ENS. So we've explained that very briefly. Again, if you believe there's an Australian employer and you might be eligible, it is worth talking to an agent to see whether
What's
this
your
is the
eligibility?
right pathway for you.
Correct.
We've got Manjula now asking, okay, I think we're missing another question there. Prasanna Pinsara is saying, under 491 visa, if one works under different employer on a casual basis, parallel to the grant 191 in these 3 years' time, is it required to update all the employer's details to the department? I think it is worth doing that, Pinsara. They do keep sending us updates to just give the information of the new address or new employer. So if you started working for a different employer, just update the department. It's always wise to give them a lot of information than keeping something from them.
If you haven't done it, don't get stressed. As long as you keep your information and you worked in that regional area, you'll be well covered.
Yeah. So Manjula is asking, hello, I'm Manjula from Japan. Currently, I'm working as aged care disability care of 5 years experience. Is there any way to find a sponsor to migrate to Australia? Could you please help me with this process? Manjula, please send us the CV because you are already working and you've got 5 years experience. We will forward it to one of the recruiters that we are affiliated with. Let's see if they can help you secure employment. If so, we can help you with the visa. I've got Drovi asking, can you briefly explain the process for software engineers to skill migrate? So skill migration process is same for everyone. It just depends. Your occupation is different, but the pathways that are available, the points requirement, everything else is exactly the same.
So you need to have that 65 points for yourself. You need to be age below 45. You need to have competent English. And you need to have a skills assessment. Skills assessment, you need to have, if you have completed the recognized bachelor's degree, you need to have, if it's an offshore degree, for ACS, you're required to have at least 2 years work experience for that. And you need to be able to prove it by showing the pay slips and your job contracts and EPF, ETF, and also your the bank statements, etc. If you were to complete a recognized bachelor's degree in IT in Australia, you can do it by completing 1 year work experience or completing professional year while in Australia. So there are many pathways to complete your skills assessment.
So again, send us an email with your CV and ask for a skilled migration consultation. We are happy to give you a consultation and explain the pathway that's specifically designed for you. And Shelley is asking a really good question. I think this is the last question that we have time for today. She's saying, I heard cookery students having 2 years of experience doesn't have to wait for full skill assessment to lodge the 482. That is absolutely correct. This 482 requirement is for people who didn't study in Australia. If you, doesn't matter whichever the passport you hold, if you studied in Australia, that qualification, you do not need a skill assessment for a 482. So you are correct. If you go through the job ready program and if you've already done 2 years but you still don't have a skill assessment but you have the qualification and 2 years full-time work experience, you are good to go for 482, Shelley, and love to help you with your 482. So send us an email. We'll have a consultation and chat about how to move forward.
So we're going to quickly and briefly go through the last topic for the day, parents visa. So it is actually quite a good topic that you need to properly understand what parent visa is, because there are many parents visas and permanent residency pathway. It depends on what's your end goal and plan with your parents visit here. So if you're a visitor or temporary resident on a 482 or any other student or whatever, if you want your parents to come for a quick visit and come back, that's just the visitor stream. So they can come here under a tourist visa, visit you for a couple of months or a month or 3 months, and then return back. But if you're a Australian citizen or permanent resident who wants to give more weight to yourself rather than to your parents to show their financial capacities, etc., you can do it through the same thing. It's called family-sponsored visitor visa. So you can show your background and give the commitment for them to come and visit and generally return back on time. So they're the temporary ones. And then if you're an Australian permanent resident or a citizen and into family income threshold of 84,000, then you can apply for a long-term visitor visa for your parents. So you're for 3 years.
Sponsored temporary parent visa, it's 870. Can be granted for 3 years or 5 years, and the maximum time a parent can stay in this visa in Australia is up to 10 years, and you can only sponsor 2 parents per household at a time. If you want to sponsor a different parent, then you have to withdraw the first parent sponsorship and then you have to apply for the other parents.
What it means is if the husband and wife both have foreign parents, and if you want to bring them all across, you cannot have all the parents in one hit.
Only
through
2
this
parents.
Visa. Only 2 parents. It could be moms or dads or whatever the mix it is, but
it
2 at a
doesn't matter,
time.
just 2 at a time.
It costs you additional $3,000 for 3 years. If you go for
5,000 for 3 years and 10,000 for 5 years. So that is the payment for 870 visa, and it is normally an offshore visa. The applicant has to be offshore. We can apply for a special permission to get it lodged onshore if the parent is onshore and they have reasons why they cannot fly back home. If it is approved, then we can lodge it onshore. If not, the parent has to be offshore to lodge it. These days, very quick processing times, about 2 to 3 months. We handle many of the temporary parent visas. It's such a good visa, especially when
it's a great visa. So
young children and need
they can be here for 3 to 5 years and then spend and they can reunite. And then now we're going to talk about the actual permanent visas. So the normal permanent visa is for your parents, as long as you have from your family unit at least 50% of your siblings are Australian citizens or permanent residents, then you can have your parents to come across to Australia to live permanently. What it means, 50% means if you have 3 kids, at least 2 of them need to be Australian permanent residents all citizens. If you have 4, then 2. If you have 1, don't worry, you're in. That's the rule of thumb for all the parent visa permanent program. So the normal program is about $4,000 it costs per parent, but the bad news is they have to wait.
The parent
Extensive
queue is
time
about
of 50
40 years, 50 years.
Yeah.
So if you're offshore and you lodge this, there is a good chance that you might not get this visa in your lifetime.
And
That's when we sometimes recommend the contributory parent visa, which is the other visa option that's available, where you have to pay, I think it's about
there are 2
40.
options in contributory parent visa as well. Step 1, you pay their $4,000 for the visitor visa, the actual visa, and at the time of the visa grant, there's a second installment payment of about $46,000. It just keep on changing, but $46,000 you have to pay as a second installment. But there is another alternative where you can apply for 143, where you pay a second installment about $20,000, and
2 years later.
2 years later you pay
then
about
you pay
another
the rest.
$30,000.
But by doing that, one thing is it's going to take longer to get the permanent residency. Other thing is you end up paying a little bit of extra money.
But
so when
the
people
good thing
can
is, if your
afford
parents
it,
are still young,
Yeah.
then they can come here and earn that money while they're here, because they get the
Working.
full-time work, right? It's good. They can do anything. There's a lot of people say that they get tax benefits out of them as well, if you have family trust and stuff like that. So it's not too bad if
Not
you're
too bad, yes.
in your background, if you have proper establishment. And
the last one is
one other good benefit is the age parent parts.
Yeah.
So whether you are whether you're going through the normal pathway or the contributory pathway is still going to take over 10 years at the moment.
12 years processing right now.
Processing time. But if your parents are above, if it's father 60, it changes every year.
The
pension
latest
age
is 67
67. If they're above 67, you can do a visa on shore, and they can stay with you in Australia under a bridging visa until the actual visa is granted. So you don't have a separation for that 12 years. It might work really well for certain parents, and also where one of the parents passed away and your whole family is here and the remaining parent has issues overseas. This might be a very good option for them. The only thing is they have to look after their own health insurance until the permanent residency is granted.
Yeah. So I hope it's a bit clear. I know it can be quite confusing, the parent visas, if you don't know the ins and outs of it. And it's very important to plan it critically, because the subclass 870 visa, if you lodge it at the wrong time, you may lose the opportunity to lodge the permanent visa. So again, talk to an agent and see which visa you want to lodge first, so you don't lose that opportunity to lodge the permanent visa.
Okay, it's great talking to you. We've got a couple of
one question.
Questions left. I think the other channel's got something else too.
Hanifa's asking, I have a BSc Honours Computer Network UK, also 12 years experience. How do I apply? So I think you're eligible to apply under either a work visa or under the skilled migration visa. We have to look at your
we need
CV.
further information. I think it's best you set up
send
an
us
appointment.
an email. We'll give you an appointment.
General skill migration, work visa option, they all to that background that you're displaying, but you need to learn more about your age and your work experience, what are the actual work experience from day one, etc. too. So yeah.
Happy to have a chat. Again, thank you so much for listening in, and thank you for asking all these questions. They were really good questions that got us to talk about many things. We are coming back to you in 2 weeks' time.
And until then, stay safe. God bless you all.